Okay, so we are here with the North Node, South Node series. Yay! Saturn series is done because that is so depressing. But our North Node and South Node placements are really important in our chart, or important in our chart. So the North Node is basically where we are trying to head towards in this lifetime, what is going to bring us more soul fulfillment, because it's kind of far away from us. It feels kind of scary and intimidating, but it is something that we kind of yearn for and want deep down inside. And it might be the secret sauce to how you actually get what you want in life if you are actually doing the work or being brave or moving towards this North Node placement, whichever zodiac sign yours is in, as well as which house it is in as well. Those two things are going to give you the clues for your personalized North Node kind of explanation, and always think about your whole natal chart and your unique planetary placements and aspects, and how they combine, and think of the transits that are going on right now in the world. Not everyone is the same age, so things are hitting at different life stages for each and every one of you, and that is going to determine, also depending on what choices you made during those times, what kind of path you're going to be taking. Or what opportunities open up for you or are kind of blocked for you. And our South Node placement is basically where we're super comfortable in. It's like we don't even have to try. It's common sense. It's almost like street smart, like you just know it and you don't really know why, whether you believe in past lifetimes and you've mastered this area in life for many rounds of life, and you got it so down that you are beyond the PhD of your South Node. You could write the book of your South Node placement. Or you can think of it as like just during childhood, you just naturally took on this, archetype and role without anyone trying to tell you what to do or told you anything. You just did it unconsciously. This is where you are super comfortable. It is, where you kind of cling on to or go to all the time because you just know it. You know it so well. Just like all of us with our strengths and weaknesses, will tend to go towards what we're good at more so than what we suck at, and so don't forget to work on your weaknesses, work on things that you're not the best at, even though you need extra help or tutoring or research and you have to practice, like every spare moment that you have, work on your weaknesses, a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Doesn't mean you need to master it or anything like that. But this is kind of relating to moving towards that North Node to feel more fulfilled, more happy, getting what you ended up wanting, even though that took you many years, you're slowly just moving in that direction. So your South Node is kind of like you're just so used to doing this area of life so much. You are like the master of your South Node. I forgot what I already said. But your south node is just where you're super comfortable at, where you have lived many, many lifetimes as this archetype. And so you don't need to learn anymore about that. You've done it, you've been there, done that, and now you're kind of bored spiritually, and you want to try something that feels kind of like out of the box, and that is your north node placement. So it's really good for your spiritual and soul growth, and practicing not staying stuck, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So now we're going to go through each of the zodiac signs. We're going to start with Aries, or first house. So check out both your zodiac sign of where your north node is, as well as the house, whatever zodiac sign that house, that zodiac represents. Check out that area as well for more clues if you are doing the research all by yourself. So good luck and see you. Okay, so if you have north node in Cancer, then that means you have south node in Capricorn. So, or north node, you can also look at this as north node in the 4th house and south node in the 10th house. Even if it's not in Capricorn and Cancer, you can see some traits of this energy from that. So what is Cancer? Basically, it represents the 4th house of the natal chart. Home, family, emotions, childhood, upbringing, or like your roots, your core upbringing, basically, almost like your core programming of what you went through as a child, and how that, all the positive and negatives and how you perceive the world and everything kind of trickles outward. 10th house or Capricorn energy is, the highest point of the chart at the top, typically. Some people's charts are kind of, their lines are a little skewed and stuff. But typically, the 10th house is at the top of the chart, representing your public image, how the entire world or people far away from you kind of sees you, perceives you, looks at you, even though they don't actually know who you are. It represents your career, like your legacy, what you built, from that bottom. So the 4th house or Cancer is kind of like your roots, your elementary school stuff, what your basic learning. And your 10th house is almost like, what did you do with that? Did you do anything with that in a positive, negative way? Did you kind of stagnate? Did you fall from grace? Did, what happened? And did people kind of publicly see that, or was it hidden and they don't really see it, or, a limited amount of people kind of know about, whatever is going on in your life? So that is kind of like 10th house energy. So I am a Capricorn sun and stellium in the 4th house, but in Capricorn, kind of a Libra rising. So I have kind of, I kind of understand these two energies that you either have if you're looking this up for yourself or you're trying to research for someone else. But having north node in Cancer, this basically means that you've came from many lifetimes of working really hard, of being in that Capricorn south node energy, many, many lifetimes, or you can say just from childhood. You just naturally took on this energy because you just had to, you had no choice, or you just naturally went there. You just kind of perceived that you needed to embody this energy, even if you're not consciously thinking about it in this way, that you needed to work hard. Capricorn energy is the builder of empire structures, pushing through resistance, pushing through hardship, being extremely disciplined, very ambitious, working, always freaking working. This is someone who works 15 to 20-hour days, until they build their empire, and they isolate themselves from fun and play and all the joys in life because they're so busy working and pursuing whatever it is that they're working on, or or just like how people perceive them. They're working on something that does not necessarily have to be an actual business per se. You have to look at it as like, what stage in life are you in also, because you can't assume like a 10-year-old is going to build like a empire thing, that takes the course of someone's almost entire life, or maybe earlier if they're more fortunate and disciplined and talented and just know things, like depending. So that South Node in Capricorn, you've been through many, many lifetimes, or have this strong ambition and discipline, or like this intrinsic need to work on something for yourself in order to be perceived by the world or by your family, your friends, whoever, to be seen in a more positive light or powerful light, or someone who is a somebody, like you're not a nobody, you're a somebody. Because Capricorn is so, worried about like financial stability, being successful, being able to do things for themselves. Sometimes it's because they had no choice. They kind of took on the burden of just doing the responsible thing because nobody else seemed to step up to do that role, or nobody really helped. It's like you're kind of on your own. You have to figure it out for yourself. And so there's that kind of pressure to kind of build or create or do something, even if you don't quite know what it is that you want yet. You're still trying to move forward or progress and evolve in some sort of a way. So that's kind of the gist of Capricorn energy. And I keep adding, that's how I have Chiron in Gemini and Saturn and Sagittarius in the Gemini house. And so I always like, it's blah. So Capricorn energy is also your career, your public image, your finances, your ambition, what you're known for, your legacy, kind of big structures, almost like supply chain management, or, all the layers, like crazy lasagna that is more complicated than lasagna. All these layers of the onion that's kind of collected more and more and more. It tends to be kind of cold, not so warm and fuzzy, very stoic, not emotional, or, so fixated and busy of focusing on the work and the business and building money, building stability, building security, that they kind of come off or suppress emotions, or being very nurturing. Because, for example, I had the reason why I moved, you see the change in, if you look at my old videos and I have my background and everything, I had to move because I had to help my mom during like illness crisis. So now I had to uproot everything and move, and there are some moments where, there's like critical emergencies, and during crazy emergencies when the patient, if you're working in a hospital setting or whatever, and something very crazy and chaotic is happening, and the patient is already kind of feeling very anxious, like what's happening to me, and things are happening to the body that you don't understand, then the Capricorn energy tends to be very stoic, because like you still need to get things done. Like you can't be overly emotional, freaking out, like you're not even the one who's, under some kind of physical illness, stress, or whatever. The other person is. You need to be able to function in order to help that person who is in a real crisis situation, even though you are also involved in the bubble of crisis, So Capricorn energy can be that disconnected, disconnected from emotion, or being emotional, because it's the opposite of Cancer. Cancer it represents all of the emotions. It's like, happy and then sad and depressed and frantic and joyful and then overly emotional and freaking out or lashing out of nowhere. It's like all over the place. It's water being like shoveled around in a big bowl, and Capricorn is like a steady bowl of water. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to take that metaphor so literal, but if you find that if you do have this kind of a placement of North Node Cancer, South Node Capricorn, or in the houses of 4 and 10, that there's a possibility that you know how to suppress your own needs, emotions, and wants in order to get the job done, whatever it is, if that is literal business or financial or dealing with romantic partners or dealing with family members. You know how to kind of shove your own needs and emotions in order to get a job done, or maybe words that are not very nice, or other people saying like, you'll never be anybody, you'll never be able to do something like that. If you are going a non-traditional route, you're not going for a normal salary or job, or what a good mass amount of people tend to do. If you were kind of like that outlier who is like, no, I want to build my own business, I have this great idea, whatever, you're probably going to get people who are not sure in what your capabilities are. For example, and Capricorn energy is like being able to push through the naysayers, the people who are secretly jealous because they don't know how to do what you're able to do, or, they don't know you that well, so if they don't know you that well in all of your capabilities and what you're able to do, of course, they're going to kind of think like, no, there's no way that that person can actually do whatever they say that they're going to do. And that is a projection of themselves because they're not doing anything. Maybe they don't have the ambition or knowledge or tools or even just the willpower or want or desire to do that, because you have to have some kind of desire or momentum kind of energetically to actually work on something on the sidelines or for free every single day, almost for years before you actually get a payout. Not many people are actually going to do that or keep thinking about that or keep revising and, fixing or working through the complications and stuff like that. All of that is dealing with Capricorn energy. Like, what is the right problem solving business solution to get to the long-term end goal. So all of these things are Capricorn energy. And so if you're moving towards Cancer energy, the universe, God, whatever your natal chart, or if you're just using this as a tool to be like, why do I feel like blah and not fulfilled or not happy or whatever, it is asking you in this lifetime that you've mastered that Capricorn energy. Like, people see you as very successful and ambitious, and you actually know how to, do the daily grind in order to progress and move towards whatever it is. You can look at, this in physical health, people who come to me, because I'm currently still a trainer of like over 10 years. Some people like look, at other gym people in the gym, who my gym happens to have a lot of fit people in there, and people who are coming in that are, pretty much new-ish, or haven't built that kind of consistency to the level of the people that they're kind of envying or feel intimidated by. People who look a certain way, most likely they've been, going at it at the gym for like 10 plus years, consistently every single day, and actually pushing at it. That's why they look the way they do. It wasn't like 3 months or 1 year, 2 years, and like, oh, I'm still not where I want to be, and then give up, it's not working, or keep changing the plan, because things are not happening the way you thought they would happen at that speed. It takes a lot longer, and the people who you may see as super strong, or they know how to do all these things, or lift heavy weight, or do like so many pit pull-ups or whatever, they've been doing it for a really long time, and you don't even know their childhood foundation of sports and athleticism or whatever. So it is that the journey, fall in love with the process, fall in love with the journey, and eventually you'll get there because you actually enjoy the process. And so I went off tangent again, but your North Node in Cancer is trying to ask you to be more nurturing towards yourself, or like being a little bit more open to those things towards emotions, feeling things, not like disconnecting from your feelings, kind of looking towards like having a family, or being more family oriented, or finding people, friends, whoever, who feel like family. If your family kind of was very cold, because Capricorn energy is very cold, but it doesn't have to be that literal. So trying to be kind of more nurturing, not so workaholic, Capricorn and Virgo, or like, I have to say probably the top 2 workaholic signs of the zodiac. If you happen to have a lot of that energy, or a lot of planets in the 6th or 10th houses, you can have, some of that in your chart, regardless if you are a Capricorn or a Virgo. So kind of trying to let go of being so ambitious, or being too fixated and focused on how others perceive you. Like, oh, like maybe you put a lot of pressure on yourself that you need to, like have a multi-million-dollar house, or you need to have, all this material, because Capricorn is a material house of like the stuff that you've been able to afford because of the hard work that you've put into, or grown whatever business that you have, that you're so fixated and focused on this kind of external look of how people see you. So maybe you've gotten to the point of having different houses or vacation houses everywhere, and you can afford nice things, or the look of stuff, or a nice car, or a nice looking partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whomever, or a group of friends, a fit business people, like the image that you have created. And Cancer energy moving towards this, if you happen to feel still kind of empty and lonely, with your successes, because at the end of the day, no matter how much money that you made, how successful you become, hopefully you enjoyed the journey of getting there. Like I personally think the journey of getting there, and the process of being able to achieve whatever it is more fulfilling than the end goal, of actually obtaining the thing. It was the process that was the fun part, not the end result. So if you did things backwards. For example, if you focused first on how people see you, worrying about how you look to other people, not what you actually wanted or needed, or, you know, not thinking about yourself, worrying so much about how everybody else perceives you, what you have, what you don't have, you know, oh, you have like a dinky car, or you have a nice car, or whatever, you know, are you being perceived as like a loser or a bum, you know, like you don't want that, you know, because Capricorn energy is like, oh no, I don't want to look like a bum or look like I'm, you know, poor or didn't make anything of myself. You know, Capricorn energy doesn't like that. So you might be so fixated on that. But if you kind of built whatever you have only on that, you know, and then you reach that, and you're like, okay, what do I do now? You know, because you already reached the highest point and it's kind of empty. Maybe you have multi-million-dollar house with 20 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms or whatever. And at the end of the day, it's very empty. It's just a bunch of walls and furniture and stuff. And okay, that's it, you know? And then you're like, well, you go back to, I need to work on my business, work on more business or building more empires. What can I do with more money and building more stuff, instead of, hey, what makes your multi-million-dollar rich house of many walls and expensive stuff feel like home now? You know, the people that you invite to your house or welcome into your house, do they feel nurturing? Are they homey, or do they make your life worse and chaotic, or make you work more? You know, like they blow money like crazy, because, you know, if, you know, wealthy people attract people who tend to be users, you know, because they don't know how to do that. You know, like knowing how to weed those people out, or if you can take care of them, well, do it, you know. But inviting people into your circle who can help you feel nurtured, help you feel warm, and actually take care of your needs, or, you know, make you feel you know, back in touch with your emotions, instead of being disconnected and focused on the looks of things or the material things of life. But it's always up to you. You have the free will to do or not do whatever it is you are, you know, wanting to explore in whatever phase of life that you're going through. But you know, this North Node in Cancer, or North Node in the 4th house, even though if it's not in Cancer, could be asking you to come back down to your roots, come back down to your childhood wounds that were not met, because there's a reason why you may have felt like you needed to be so ambitious, or you needed to work all the time because there was a lack there. You know, parents or family just couldn't support you, couldn't provide you with the material things because they were struggling, or you had like 10 kids and, you know, on a minimum wage salary. There's just not that much to go around to kind of spoil all of the kids, you know, in comparison to having like one kid. That one kid can get, you know, way more spoiled on the same income, opposed to having 10 kids on the same income. So, you know, being overly ambitious or overly fixated on working all the time or making money and security, there is a lack there. And that doesn't mean like, yeah, it's just gonna go away if, you know, you work on your Cancer placement. Life is throwing you whatever life is throwing you at, blah, whatever. But it's kind of asking you to like, okay, after a certain point, you know, balance this out. It doesn't mean completely cut off that South Node Capricorn energy. That is a part of who you are. It makes you feel safe, and that is where you feel secure, and your kind of go-to thing to, that's your foundation of security, but it's kind of trying to teach you, hey, come to the Cancer side, nurturing, relax a little bit, embrace all the emotions that life has to offer. Happiness, joy, fun, pleasure, sadness, guilt, anger, whatever, children, having a family, maybe having a family and now being able to reparent yourself from having this kid and doing things in a way that you wish you could have gotten, but hopefully forgiving your past, or forgiving your parents for what they did not know, or what they just couldn't do because you're just not capable of doing, or whatever the excuse can be. Forgiving that and saying like, hey, I'm going to be the one to kind of, my legacy is going to be different. I want my family, my home environment, what I can provide and whatever to my kids, my family, and nurture them in a way that I never got, and so it's just trying to move you towards that archetype of Cancer in the 4th house. Warm, fuzzy feelings, in a small little 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment or shack or whatever, and making those walls inside of it feel warm and cozy. Even though it's a small space, you can still make it, very homey and lovely, and it doesn't have to be expensive, and, what you bring into that home, the people, the nourishment, the quality, what you allow in is going to be way more fulfilling than having like a lot of stuff, or, a ton of money, or a ton of rooms, or a ton of cars, and, flashy stuff, and it feels empty, so that's kind of possibly the scenario that may be going on for you, if you are willing and wanting to even move towards that, but it'll feel more fulfilling. And since this video will be posted when my book is actually out, this is my book, Trigger to Change, A Path to Resiliency. I'm going to be doing a live tomorrow, which when this video comes out, it's going to be past anyway. But if you want to check out that live, you can go to my little name, Natasha's Creative Wellness, and then you'll look at, the little tabs. It'll say video, shorts, playlists, live. It'll be under the live section. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. Maybe rambling a little bit about relationships, a little bit about the book without giving info about the book, stuff like that. But talking about the process, this is, you see the not for release, the drafts, because I need physical copies to write in. And, it took me 2 weeks to actually write the actual stuff in here, even though in my brain, like it was my whole life, even though it's not like my whole life is in the book, but it's like it jumps around a lot. So it's like, I would say this is probably good for people who are my age or younger, most likely, who can learn from what to do and what not to do from me, as in like a storytelling kind of way. I can never control what you choose to do or not do, but it might be more informative. It talks about why I even started writing the book, because that's how I started writing the book. And then it kind of goes deeper into one of the most profound relationships that I learned from. And it put me into like a 1-week psychosis episode. So a lot of it is about that psychosis episode. And if you don't know what psychosis is, it's like, everything looks the same. Like, whatever you're looking at it looks like that. But there's something about the reality that is kind of off. You know, there's little cues and stuff that's just like this, something not right, you know, and that's basically what I was going through, and all the physical symptoms that were happening, and kind of my kind of weird, it almost makes me think of Alice in Wonderland, but not at the same time. And a lot of psychosis people, they usually have this kind of angel devil kind of episode thing, which I did go through. And it was like a spiritual war, kind of like some of the process before that, that triggered it. And then it jumps around because my brain jumps around a little bit. So if you have ADHD, maybe it'll keep your attention a little bit more, or you have to really pay attention because it's not a very superficial, light, you know, fluffy kind of book. You know, it kind of sucks you in, I think. Maybe that's just me. But some of the comments that I've gotten from people that I've allowed to read it before I actually like really put it out on the due date, which is tomorrow, June 30th. When you see this video, it'll be past. They said it was a very interesting book, you know, and some of those people are like doctors and psychologists and stuff like that. Yeah, check it out. So this is why with Capricorn energy thing in the past is like learning to love the process. If you're not a Capricorn, you don't have South Node in Capricorn, I have no idea why you're watching this video. You just find things that I say informative, which would be really cool, because you can learn from almost all of my videos. I think I blend things in a way to where you can pick up on information depending on how old you are, or maybe you don't have, you didn't have good role models or parents, you know, you had immature parents or parents who were just not ready to be a parent at that time, and you're like underdeveloped, you know, in certain areas of life. And I feel like it could be like an interesting way for people like that to learn from, like a role model that they never had, without me actually being there, because I'm only one person. Like, there's no way that I can actually parent all of the abandoned children out there. So yeah, so fall in love with the process of becoming more and more and more resilient. So this is a finished one. Isn't it pretty? I took this photo in 2015. It was a self-portrait. Like a few days after I did my first bodybuilding show in 2015, and I did that to just see if I could do it, you know. And I was already fairly lean. I already kind of worked out like 7 days a week, you know, but I couldn't get the nutrition part right. And I love to eat all the time. And so that is how lean I got. But this is after I kind of carved up after the show a little bit. But I wanted to document my progress, you know, and it took me maybe 3 hours to get this one photo. There might be a few other photos that, you know, I had narrowed it down, but this was the winner. And I am so happy that I got that shot. If you know photography, not every shot is going to be the best shot. You actually get just a few really, really good ones out of that batch, you know. And so I had to go back and forth with the timer. This is an example of Capricorn energy. Like, you just keep persevering. You're almost obsessed. That's also my Scorpio chart ruler thing. And I mix astrology in here a little bit, and how it helped me to kind of heal, become more self-aware, and realize things in order to kind of build upon a better relationship with myself. And if I ever wanted to pursue a relationship again, how to kind of navigate that better. Because I have Moon in the 7th house in Aries, super impulsive and fast, and like, I like you, you like me, okay, we're gonna make this work. And it's like, that's not a good way of making things work. So yeah, check that out. That will be under my little name. I will put a link to the Amazon link. You actually have to type out my name in the book because I'm not popular. I would say I am a popular loner. Like, a lot of people know of me, but I don't like to socialize because I don't know what normal people talk about. I'm not really that interested in celebrities and things on the news. I don't really care. I don't want to get into that. And what else do you call it? Like sports. Like, I don't know who these people are. Good for them. I'm more focused on like, hey, what do I want my life to be like? What I put my time in my creative ambitions and stuff. And so I have a hard time socializing about Gemini, surface level things. So I like deep stuff, deep, real conversations and stuff like that. So I'll stop rambling here. But yeah, check out that live. I don't know if I kept skipping it. My name, if you go to the description box on my actual channel page and you click on more, when you scroll down, you'll see a variety of links. So I'll put the link to get this book if you don't want to just actually go, do all the other extra steps to get the book, Kindle, paperback. There's a hardcover, bigger version for people who need bigger eyes, but whatever. And I have other links in there, supplement discounts if you're into supplements. Yes, I do get a little percentage out of it from Lifetime, where I work, and it's something that you can do or purchase to help improve your life. And if you use my trainer code 255687, you get a discount, and that also helps me. So it works both ways. I also have some journal prompts links in there. It's like a Google Doc that I share. If you're bored out of your mind, you don't know what to do, and you have your own journal or whatever, things to kind of really deeply contemplate, there are links to those as well. Or how to start your fitness journey. If you're a real beginner and you're a hot mess, your environment is crazy, just things to kind of work on, little things to check off and kind of help create new habits, your new supportive environment to help you become successful if you find yourself super stuck and spinning on the hamster wheel of going nowhere. So there are links to that in there too. And then a link to my website, www.natashascreativewellness.com. And if you want a natal chart reading, you can get that there as well. Right now, how I'm going to do it is it's like an illustrative narrative concept thing that it takes me a lot of time to piece together, but I find that it's a little bit more efficient on my personal time because I'm very scattered, and it helps me not wander around too much. So it's just more focused and more entertaining. If you want to give this to a little bit younger person, like your kid, or just do that for yourself, I don't know what. There's going to be a certain age point where it's not going to be very effective. Never think of you can control other people. You can guide, but not hey, your natal chart says this, you need to do things like this. There's a divine order. There's transits happening in the sky that kind of activate or make someone wait, you know. So there's a timing to things, but in the meantime, you know, all this stuff is kind of asking you, what can you do with the time now? What are the challenges that are happening in your life to overcome now? What are your feelings now? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is this a pattern? Whatever. How can you progress in a way to where you've learned from your mistakes, how to weed situations, negotiations, whatever, in a better way. So, you know, you could just move forward in a little bit more smoother way. But I'm rambling as I usually do again. So yeah, check out the links in my description box. Please like and subscribe, share, you know, if you find my channel informative. I tend to ramble on in almost all the videos. You might get little bits and pieces of stuff that maybe it's not your actual sign, but maybe once you're curious about somebody else, maybe you'll learn something for yourself through someone, you know, when you're intending to learn about someone else, you actually learn something for yourself to use or use in the future. So yes, and please check out my book. So yeah, thank you very much. My name is Natasha, and I hope to see you later in other videos. Okay, bye. So high, so high, so high.